Hello everyone, I'm Karen, the systematic voice of virtual warfare. It has been a long time since you guys heard from me. Strangely, I was created before the whole viral Karen thing. However, when addressing secret errors, it seems to suit me well. There are 2 new secret errors that need to be brought to the attention of RP fighters. Using the idea to attack people based on reacting on the opponent's ill intent and stating that you're already inside an arena on your second turn and attacking on that very turn. First, we will talk about attacking on the first turn as a second poster first, stating you're already in the area on your first post as the second post and attacking your opponent in that post. This is a problem for several reasons. Number 1. It creates the narrative that the characters already know each other and that it presents a story outside the RP fight. It gives the second player to post a huge opportunity to create a counteraction based on any current event. If a player is falling from the sky, they can attack them in mid-flight. If they are entering the vicinity through the front door, they can blow up the entrance to obstruct their entry. They will be able to meta-play any scenario, playing in a way that makes their opponent at a disadvantage while taking advantage of any situation. In other words, posting to counteract against a character's position, location, speed, etc., to immediately gain the upper hand. On the contrary, the player who posts first is going in without any type of foreknowledge or information about the opponent. This occurrence is intrinsically inevitable, as someone will always have to post first, leaving the second poster with the opportunity to meta-play regardless of the rules. When the second poster is allowed to attack on their first turn, however, then the intrinsic occurrence becomes a detriment to the gameplay, rather than something that is simply winked at. This is because it is simply unavoidable. Instead, it is exploited through emphasizing on being able to be within the arena before the opponent has arrived, and having the opportunity to attack first, which isn't inherently fair. This, again, places the first poster at a disadvantage, because they are entering the fight without any foreknowledge of their opponent's location, status, intentions, etc. Now their opponent, posting second, knows everything about the opponent, location, status, desires, etc., because it is written for the eyes to see. Unfortunately, they can word their post in a way as to not cause metagaming, which is legitimate, but it doesn't negate the idea that metagaming is intrinsically inevitable. The way to avoid this scenario is how virtual warfare does it. In essence, the character of each player enters the same vicinity at virtually the same time. This means, the idea of already being in the vicinity before the opponent is eliminated. And though second to post, the second poster has to state that their character is entering the vicinity with their opponent. This creates a fair and equal opportunity for both to react to each other's actions at virtually the very same time. Furthermore, in virtual warfare, players aren't allowed to attack or prep on their first post during their entry, but only enter the arena to meet their opponent. This is because entries would be only used for aesthetic purposes only, not a means to set up attacks. So, on the second turn, because each character enters the vicinity at the same time, both players would have a fair and equal opportunity to interrupt each other. Based on what they do, the first poster could attack the second, and the second could interrupt. Or the second poster could prep and the first poster could interrupt. Because both players would virtually be acting and responding within the same time frame, all would be fair and equal in opportunities to stop one another. Sensing ill intentions. The second systematic discrepancy is attacking people based on their ill intention. Even for virtual warfare, having an ability that activates due to the ill intent of the opponent is nearly God mode. This is because it inadvertently creates the idea that the user is able to catch a glimpse inside the assailant's mind, without using a skill shot to obtain that information. In other words, a character can passively know what their opponent is about to do before they do it. Sure, one could argue that the information about the intention was produced by a series of unintentional vibrations, and/or radiation by the assailant. But if it isn't unanimously agreed to be common knowledge in the world of metaphysics that such things occur, it becomes character lore control, which is against the rules. Now, if it is agreed to be used, whenever the assailant decides to choose harm against the defender, the patterns of the ill intentions would be produced. If the assailant is in an idle position during the thought process, the surges or patterns of the ill intentions would be produced before they issued any type of bodily movements. So, in retrospect, once the ill intention patterns are presented, and it is commonly known for reactions to be faster than actions themselves, the defender would essentially be one step ahead of the assailant during this process, which is a phenomenal advantage, but it doesn't create any disadvantages for the user. There are two dynamics that need to be understood and applied to level the playing field so that both parties, assailant and defender, are at an equal advantage and disadvantage. Number 1. The sensing of the opponent's ill intentions should not be a passive ability alone. Passive abilities, though perfectly legal, happens automatically, without any extra effort presented by the user. If used as a passive ability, however, the user should at least present a level of concentration in order to use that ability. So though passive, the user issued a level of focus to use the ability, rather than it being dormant and having to activate passively. This not only keeps it from being completely passive, but it also mandates the player to present a probable cause on why they chose to use this type of passive ability. This will keep the sensing opponent's ill intentions from being overpowered and a potential auto. Number 2. Speed and timing are important factors in this occurrence. Though the defender would be one step ahead of the assailant, and reactions are generally faster than actions, the defender would still have to document when they proceeded to counteract the actions expressed by the ill intentions. So, if the assailant was thinking about shooting the defender and reached for their gun, and the defender sensed the ill intentions, which would happen before the assailant acted, the defender would still have to state when their counteraction coincided with the actions of the assailant. So, even if the theory is wrong for that scenario, and the defender's counteraction is not fast enough to counter against the ill intentions being expressed by the assailant can still successfully commence with their ill intentions and overcome the defender due to their insufficient reaction time. This is just basic realism. Just because one is able to sense something before it comes, doesn't mean they will be fast enough to escape it when it does. Any ability that activates with sensing or defending against patterns that aren't naturally generated physically like light, sound, heat, etc., but are based on some philosophical idea or pseudoscience, surges generated from ill intention, a defensive mindset, etc. This systematic implications should be applied to give both players a fair and equal opportunity to succeed and fail, to commence or stop procedures of each other. That is all for the secret errors. Virtual Warfare is interested in hearing thoughts, questions, and comments based on these words. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and let us know if you'll like more insight on this or any other matters pertaining to roleplay fighting. Until next time.